Faith for Today with Colin Urquhart and Julia Fisher.
We're talking about authority this week, in particular authority in the church and state. We've talked about being submitted to our leaders in the church. Yesterday you talked about marriage and being submitted to husbands and husbands loving their wives just as Christ loves the church. So we're continuing in that vein today, Colin.
Yes, we're going to talk about submission in the workplace today. That's very important. Let me just quote, I was using Ephesians yesterday, but some verses from Colossians 3. Wives, submit to your husbands, as is fitting in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives, and do not be harsh with them. Children, obey your parents in everything, for this pleases the Lord. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Now, the next verse. Slaves, obey your earthly masters in everything, and do it not only when their eye is on you and to win their favor, but with the sincerity of heart and reverence for the Lord. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for men, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ who you are serving. Now, this is a very, very important scripture. In my translation, which will be available of the New Testament, which will be available in a few months' time, instead of using the word slave, I've talked about employees and bosses in the workplace, which I think is a little bit more relevant to our time and society, although, of course, we are all slaves of Christ. Remember, the word that is usually translated as servant, doulos, is the Greek word for slave. So to be a servant of Christ is to be a slave of Christ. But having said that, what is the Lord saying to us through these words? Well, you're a worker, so obey your bosses in everything. Why? Because you can only be in authority if you're subject to authority. And your boss at work has authority over you in the workplace. Now, this is where we have to move from spiritual authority to secular authority. But remember, all authority, according to Scripture, comes from the Lord. So, your boss may not be a Christian, but he still has secular authority over you in the workplace. And if you're a person who is truly submitted to the Lord spiritually, you will give a good account of yourself in the workplace. You will submit to your boss in the workplace. You will be a good witness. Because, you see, truly submitted people are humble people. They're not proud. They're not wanting to sort of take their bosses on, if you see what I mean. Now, of course, this does raise one or two issues. What about if your boss is acting in an unrighteous, ungodly manner? What if there are things going on in the company that are not godly, they're illegal, and so on? Well, in that case, you change your job. You go and say, look, you cannot work and submit to that which is not right. So either those practices will change, or you will have to move your job, because it's not right to be subject to what is unrighteous, because that will put you in an unrighteous position. So it's very important, therefore, that if your secular boss is into something that is illegal, you get out. I mean, you may try to do what you can about the situation, but if that's if he is resolute in continuing the way that he is, you're in the wrong place. But there may be all kinds of things that we can see wrong, ungodly things in a person's life that don't actually affect you as a Christian. And of course, you're there to be leaven in the lump. You're there to be a good witness. You're there, if possible, to lead your boss to the Lord if he is not a Christian. And many Christians have done that. And of course, once they've done that, then the whole situation can be very, very different. But really, a Christian worker should be the best worker in the company. He should be the most diligent. He should be a good timekeeper. He should be tidy in his appearance and clean. And he should be everything that will bring praise from the boss. The best worker he has, because that's how we can be good witnesses.
What about our attitude to work in the first place? Because work is more than just a means to an end, isn't it?
Well, this is why, you see, what Paul is saying here is you're working for the Lord. Now, your work for the Lord is not what you do in the church in the evenings. But you see, what he's saying is you're working just as much for the Lord. You're just as much a witness. In fact, you're probably more of a witness because you're out there in the world where you're mixing with unbelievers. You are there to be a witness in the workplace. So that's very, very important. But now I've got to say something I wish I didn't have to say. But this has been my sad experience over the years. That when a Christian works for a Christian boss, very often those Christians try to take all kinds of advantage of their Christian bosses, which is not right. They expect their Christian bosses to be very lenient and understanding and so on, because they're Christians. Whereas the biblical position is, if your boss is a Christian, then you work twice as hard because you're serving someone who belongs to the kingdom. You give a better account of yourself even than working for a secular boss. So it's not good when you find Christians sort of taking time off for this, that, or the other, because, well, you're a Christian, you understand, don't you? And they sort of take all kinds of liberties that you would never, ever dream of asking of a secular boss. Now that, Julia, is ungodly. It's ungodly when you do that. It does not please the Lord. It does not honor the Lord. And it does not fulfill the word of God. So where you're working for a Christian boss, you should be even more submitted, even more devoted, working, for the Lord. So whether he's a Christian boss or a non-Christian boss, you are giving of your best. Why? Because you are working not for men, but for the Lord. Very, very important. And of course, this is where the church meets the world, in the workplace. And this is true of whether men or women. It's important for the young women and older women too to give of their best if they've got a job. And again, unfortunately, if there's Christian women that are working for Christian bosses, they want to take all kinds of liberties. Well, the children are off school and this and that and the other, in a way that they would never dream of doing in the secular situation, because they would lose their jobs if they did. And I mean, that's not fair on the Christian boss, is it? Because he's got a company to run, and he can't pay people for opting out at the easiest opportunity. So yes, of course, any working housewife with children has problems. But if you're working for a secular company, you put things in place. If there's children that need looking after, whatever it is, you don't just phone up and say, well, look, this and this and this has happened, I can't come in today. But so often that's the way that people treat Christian bosses. I'm sure you'll understand because you're a believer, is the implicit attitude.
So taking responsibility, in other words.
Absolutely. That, you've got to be fair to the Christian boss, just as you've got to give of your best to the secular boss.
And God honours that attitude, I guess, is what you're going to say.
It's always an attitude of heart, isn't it? But, you see, the position of the Word of God is if you're working for a Christian boss, ultimately you're working for the kingdom, because the prophets, or some of the prophets of that work are going to go into the work of the kingdom if it's a Christian company. So, you're doing your utmost for the kingdom. You're releasing resources into the kingdom. So you want to give of your best. So all these nitty-gritty things, they're all there in the Word of God, or at least the principles that need to lie behind the way to deal with such situations. And tomorrow we need to come on to a really difficult subject, and that is, how do we submit to the secular governing authorities?
You've been listening to Faith for Today, presented by Julia Fisher. This program is sponsored by Kingdom Faith. For further information, visit our website, kingdomfaith.com.